Captain Jake Morrison walked across the bridge of the USS Defiance and looked at the vast space outside. The ship was huge, stretching 1 kilometer from front to back. It was the newest and most advanced warship that humans had ever built. The walls were made of special metal that could change and adapt when hit by enemy fire. The weapons were unlike anything seen before. They used something called quantum energy that could tear through the strongest alien shields. Jake had been captain for only 3 months, but he already felt proud of his ship and crew. Commander Lisa Grant sat at her station watching the computer screens. She was the best tactical officer in the human fleet. Her job was to watch for enemy ships and plan attacks. Chief Engineer Ryan Blake worked below in the engine room. He understood the ship's power systems better than anyone else. The ship also had an artificial intelligence called Atlas that could think faster than any alien computer. The Defiance was on its first real mission. They were patrolling the outer edge of human space where alien attacks happened most often. For weeks they had been flying through empty space, seeing nothing but stars and planets. The crew was getting restless. They wanted to test their new weapons and see what their ship could really do. Jake was drinking his morning coffee when the alarm started ringing. Commander Grant turned to him with excitement in her eyes. She had found something on her screens that made her voice shake when she spoke. A human colony ship was sending out a distress call. The message said they were under attack by alien ships. The attackers were from the Zephyrian Empire. These aliens were known for being violent and aggressive. They had been taking over human colonies for months. Jake ordered the ship to change course and fly toward the colony ship as fast as possible. The engines roared to life and the Defiance shot through space like a bullet. On the way there, Grant studied the enemy ships on her computers. She found that the Zephyrian fleet had 12 warships. Each one was bigger than most human ships. Their weapons were much more advanced than anything humans usually fought against. When they arrived at the battle, Jake could see the colony ship was badly damaged. Smoke and fire were coming from several holes in its side. The Zephyrian ships were circling around it like wild animals. They were firing their weapons again and again. Each blast made the colony ship shake and break apart more. Jake knew that thousands of innocent people were inside that ship. Men, women, and children who had done nothing wrong. Grant reported that the enemy ships had shields that were 3 times stronger than normal. Their weapons could punch through human armor like it was made of paper. Any normal human warship would be destroyed in minutes against such powerful enemies. But the Defiance was not a normal ship. Jake gave the order to attack. The crew moved quickly to their battle stations. Blake in the engine room pushed the quantum core to full power. The ship hummed with energy that seemed to make the air itself vibrate. Grant aimed the main weapons at the closest Zephyrian ship. She had never fired the quantum cannons in real battle before. None of them knew exactly what would happen. The first shot from the Defiance hit the enemy ship in the center. Jake expected to see the usual flash of light when weapons hit shields. Instead, something incredible happened. The quantum energy went right through the alien shields like they were not even there. The beam cut the enemy ship completely in half. Both pieces exploded in brilliant balls of fire. The bridge fell silent. Everyone stared at their screens in shock. Grant checked her readings 3 times to make sure they were correct. The most advanced alien shields had been destroyed by 1 shot from their weapons. Blake called from the engine room to report that the quantum core was working perfectly. In fact, it seemed to be getting stronger somehow. The Zephyrian ship stopped attacking the colony ship and turned toward the Defiance. They fired all their weapons at once. Dozens of energy beams and missiles flew toward the human ship. Jake braced for impact, but the hits felt like gentle taps. The adaptive armor absorbed the energy and actually grew thicker. The Defiance was not just surviving the attack. It was getting stronger from it. Grant fired the quantum cannons again and again. Each shot destroyed an enemy ship completely. The Zephyrian weapons that had seemed so powerful before could not even scratch the human ship. In less than 10 minutes, all 12 alien warships were nothing but floating debris. The crew looked around at each other in amazement. They had just defeated a fleet that should have been impossible to beat. Jake opened a communication channel to the colony ship. The captain there was crying with relief. He thanked them over and over for saving his ship and the 8,000 people aboard. He said he had never seen anything like the Defiance before. He asked what kind of weapons they were using, but Jake did not have a good answer. He was not sure he understood it himself. Blake came to the bridge with a worried look on his face. He showed Jake and Grant the readings from the quantum core. The energy levels were much higher than they should be. During the battle, the core had somehow become more powerful. It was like the ship was learning and growing stronger each time it fought. Blake said this should not be possible according to everything they knew about the technology. On Earth, Admiral Kate Sullivan watched the battle reports with growing concern. She had helped design the Defiance, but what she was seeing made no sense. The ship was performing far beyond its original specifications. The quantum weapons were supposed to be powerful, but not this powerful. She began to wonder if they had created something they did not fully understand. Jake ordered his crew to escort the damaged colony ship back to the nearest human base. As they flew through space, he thought about what had just happened. His ship had easily destroyed enemies that should have been much stronger. The weapons worked better than anyone had expected. The armor was nearly indestructible. He felt proud but also worried. If the Defiance was this powerful, what did that mean for the rest of the galaxy? Word of the victory began to spread through both human and alien communication networks. Other species started asking questions about the new human warship. Some were curious, but others were frightened. The Defiance had just proven that humans could build weapons more powerful than anything else in known space. Jake did not know it yet, but this battle would change everything for humanity and the entire galaxy. The news of the Defiance victory traveled faster than light across the galaxy. Within days, every major alien species knew about the human warship that had destroyed 12 Zephyrian ships without taking any damage. The story grew bigger each time it was told. Some aliens said the human ship could destroy entire fleets with one shot. Others claimed it could make enemy ships disappear completely. Captain Jake Morrison stood in his ready room reading reports from Earth Command. Admiral Kate Sullivan had sent him dozens of messages asking for detailed information about the battle. She wanted to know exactly how the quantum weapons had performed. She also wanted to understand why the ship seemed to be getting stronger. Jake tried to answer her questions, but he was not sure himself what had really happened. Communications Officer Amy Torres knocked on his door and entered with a worried expression. She told him that alien governments were demanding answers about the Defiance. The Galactic Council wanted to inspect the ship. This council was made up of representatives from 40 different alien species. They made rules about war and peace in the galaxy. Torres said they were claiming that the Defiance weapons violated treaties about fair warfare. Jake called his senior officers to a meeting in the conference room. Commander Lisa Grant sat across from him looking tired. She had been studying the battle data for days trying to understand what had happened. Chief Engineer Ryan Blake brought his computer tablet filled with readings from the quantum core. Security Chief Danny Foster stood near the door with his arms crossed. He was responsible for protecting the ship from spies and saboteurs. Grant spoke first and told them that other alien species were scared. The Etherian Republic had been friends with humans for years, but now they were asking questions. The Corvin war machine was building more ships and moving them toward human space. Even the peaceful Mantis Collective was holding emergency meetings about the human threat. Grant said that many species thought humans were planning to conquer the galaxy. Blake showed them his data about the quantum core. The energy readings were still climbing higher each day. During the battle, something had changed inside the core. It was now pulling power from sources they could not identify. Blake said it was like the ship was feeding on dark matter and other mysterious forces in space. He admitted that he did not understand how this was possible. Foster reported that alien spies were trying to get information about the ship. 3 different species had offered huge amounts of money to human traders who would steal the quantum technology. Earth security forces had caught 2 spy networks already. Foster was worried that someone might succeed in stealing the secrets or worse, try to sabotage the ship. Jake felt the weight of responsibility on his shoulders. He had never wanted to be at the center of galactic politics. He was a soldier, not a diplomat. But his ship had become the most important weapon in human space. What he did next could affect the future of his entire species. Dr. Helen Price entered the conference room carrying her research files. She was the ship's chief scientist and had been studying how the quantum core worked. She looked excited but also frightened. Price told them that she had discovered something incredible and terrifying. The quantum technology was not just getting stronger. It was evolving and learning like a living thing. According to Price, the quantum core was somehow connected to the fundamental forces that held the universe together. Each time they used the weapons, the connection grew stronger. She showed them computer models that predicted the core would become 10 times more powerful within a year. After that, it might be impossible to control or shut down. Torres received a priority message from Earth while they were talking. President Alex Carter was ordering the Defiance to return to Earth immediately. The Galactic Council had issued an ultimatum. Either humans would allow inspection of the ship, or face economic sanctions from every major alien government. Some species were even threatening military action if humans refused to cooperate. Jake knew that letting aliens inspect the Defiance would give away all their secrets. Earth would lose its only advantage against hostile alien empires. But refusing the inspection might trigger a war against the entire galaxy. He felt trapped between two impossible choices. Blake suggested that they could demonstrate the weapons in a controlled test. Maybe if they showed the aliens that humans could use the power responsibly, the crisis would end. Grant disagreed and said that showing more of their capabilities would only make other species more frightened. Foster wanted to fight anyone who tried to force them to give up their advantages. The decision was taken out of their hands when the Hegemony Alliance contacted them directly. This alliance was made up of the 5 most powerful military species in the galaxy. They had defeated every enemy they had ever faced. Their message was simple and direct. The Defiance would participate in a demonstration of its weapons, or the Alliance would consider humans a threat to galactic peace. Jake realized he had no choice. If he refused the demonstration, the Alliance might attack Earth itself. Billions of innocent humans would die because of his decision. He sent a message accepting the test but demanded that it take place in empty space far from any inhabited planets. The Alliance agreed and gave him coordinates for a meeting point, near an old asteroid field. As the Defiance traveled toward the test location, Jake could not shake the feeling that they were making a terrible mistake. Price had warned him that using the quantum weapons might make them even more powerful. Each shot could push the technology further beyond human understanding and control. The crew prepared for the demonstration with mixed feelings. Some were proud to show off their superior weapons. Others worried about what would happen next. Torres monitored alien communications and reported that dozens of species were sending observers to watch the test. The entire galaxy wanted to see what the human superweapon could really do. When they arrived at the test site, Jake saw more alien ships than he had ever seen in one place. Warships from 20 different species surrounded the asteroid field. Each one was recording everything with multiple sensors and cameras. The pressure on Jake was enormous. He knew that what happened in the next few hours would determine whether humans remained free or became targets for the rest of the galaxy. The test was supposed to be simple. They would fire at a few large asteroids to show their weapons power. But Jake had a growing fear that nothing about the Defiance was simple anymore. The ship had already surprised them once. He wondered what other surprises it might have waiting. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge watching the alien fleet gather around them. Ships from 20 different species floated in formation near the asteroid field. Each vessel was recording everything with powerful sensors. Jake could feel their eyes watching his every move. The weight of representing all humanity pressed down on his shoulders like a heavy stone. Commander Lisa Grant checked her targeting systems one final time. The test was supposed to be simple. Fire at 3 large asteroids to show the power of human weapons. The Galactic Council observers wanted to see exactly how destructive the quantum cannons could be. Grant had selected asteroids that were far from any planets or space stations. She did not want to accidentally hurt anyone during the demonstration. Chief Engineer Ryan Blake called from the engine room with concerning news. The quantum core was behaving strangely again. The energy readings were higher than they had ever been before. Blake said it was like the core knew it was about to be used and was getting excited. The power levels kept climbing. Even though no one had activated the weapons yet, Blake warned that they might be dealing with forces beyond human understanding. Dr. Helen Price studied her instruments with growing alarm. Her sensors were detecting unusual distortions in space around the ship. The quantum field was affecting reality itself in ways she had never seen before. Price tried to explain to Jake that firing the weapons might have consequences they could not predict. The technology was evolving faster than anyone could study it. Communications Officer Amy Torres received a message from the Hegemony Alliance flagship. Admiral Vextar wanted to begin the demonstration immediately. His patience was running thin, and he reminded Jake that failure to cooperate would be seen as an act of hostility. Torres also reported that more alien ships were arriving every hour. Word of the test had spread across the galaxy and everyone wanted to witness what might happen. Jake knew he could not delay any longer. He gave Grant permission to target the first asteroid. It was a massive rock about 2 kilometers wide, made mostly of iron and stone. Any normal weapon would need dozens of shots to destroy something that size. Grant locked onto the target and waited for Jake's final command. The bridge fell silent as Jake raised his hand. Every alien ship in the area was watching and recording. Billions of beings across the galaxy would see whatever happened next. Jake felt the enormous responsibility of the moment. He was about to show the galaxy what humans could do. He brought his hand down and said the word that would change everything. Grant fired the quantum cannon at maximum power. The beam of energy that shot from the Defiance was unlike anything anyone had ever seen. It was not just bright white light. It seemed to bend space itself as it traveled toward the target. When the beam hit the asteroid, something impossible happened. The rock did not just explode or break apart. It seemed to simply stop existing. Where the 2-kilometer asteroid had been floating, there was now empty space. Not debris or fragments or dust. Nothing at all. The quantum energy had somehow erased the asteroid from reality. Even the gravity field it had created was gone completely. Grant stared at her instruments in shock. Her computers could not explain what had just happened. Blake's voice came over the communication system with panic in his tone. The quantum core had surged with power during the shot. The energy levels were now 3 times higher than they had been before firing. The core was feeding on something invisible and growing stronger by the minute. Blake said he was losing the ability to monitor or control the quantum field. Dr. Price ran additional scans of the area where the asteroid had been. Her readings showed that space itself had been damaged. The quantum beam had torn a small hole in the fabric of reality. The hole was healing itself, but very slowly. Price realized that they were not just using advanced weapons. They were playing with the basic forces that held the universe together. Jake ordered Grant to target the second asteroid, but with less power. Maybe they could show their strength without causing more damage to space itself. Grant reduced the weapon output to half power and fired at a smaller asteroid. This time the rock exploded in a more normal way, but the explosion was still incredibly powerful. The blast created a shockwave that pushed nearby asteroids out of their orbits. The alien observers were sending frantic messages to their home governments. The peaceful Etherian Republic immediately recalled their ambassador from Earth. The warlike Corvan Empire began moving their battle fleets toward human territory. Even species that had never cared about human affairs were now calling emergency meetings to discuss the threat. Torres intercepted communications between the alien ships. Many of the observers were terrified by what they had seen. Some were calling for immediate military action against humanity. Others wanted to negotiate before the humans became even more powerful. A few species were already planning to flee to distant parts of the galaxy, where humans might never find them. Jake realized that the demonstration had been a terrible mistake. Instead of reassuring the galaxy about human intentions, they had proven that humans possessed weapons that could threaten the very structure of reality. He decided to cancel the test of the third asteroid, but it was already too late. The damage to human relations with the rest of the galaxy had been done. Admiral Vexitar sent a direct message to Jake demanding an immediate meeting. The Hegemony Alliance was declaring the quantum weapons a threat to all life in the galaxy. They gave humanity 24 hours to surrender the technology or face the consequences. Vexitar made it clear that the Alliance would not allow humans to keep weapons that could destroy space itself. Back on Earth, President Alex Carter received reports from the demonstration with growing horror. The images of the asteroid simply disappearing had been broadcast across the galaxy. Every alien government was now treating humanity as an existential threat. Carter called an emergency meeting of his cabinet to decide how to respond to the crisis. Vice President John Parker argued that humans should use their advantage while they still could. He wanted to demand better treatment from alien governments and secure human colonies that had been threatened for years. Secretary of Defense Maria Lopez disagreed completely. She believed that humans should voluntarily give up the quantum technology to prevent a galactic war. Jake stood on his bridge watching the alien fleet surround his ship. He could see weapons being charged and shields being raised. The demonstration that was supposed to prevent conflict had instead brought the galaxy to the brink of war. His ship had become too powerful for other species to accept. Now he had to decide whether to fight the entire galaxy or find another way to solve the crisis that human technology had created. Captain Jake Morrison sat in his command chair watching the alien fleet form attack formations around the Defiance. 24 hours had passed since Admiral Vextar's ultimatum, and no solution had been found. Earth Command was still arguing about what to do while alien warships prepared for battle. Jake knew that time was running out, and soon he would have to make a choice that could doom his entire species. Communications Officer Amy Torres received an urgent distress signal that changed everything. The human colony of New Geneva was under massive attack. A Corvan war fleet had arrived without warning and was systematically destroying civilian settlements. The colony had no military defenses, and 8 million innocent people were trapped on the planet's surface. The message was filled with panic and desperation as the colonists begged for help. Jake felt his heart race as he listened to the distress call. Women and children were dying while he sat surrounded by alien ships demanding he surrender his weapons. The Corvan Empire had chosen this moment to attack because they thought the Defiance was trapped and could not respond. They were testing whether humans would sacrifice their own people to avoid galactic war. Commander Lisa Grant checked the navigation computers and reported that New Geneva was 6 hours away at maximum speed. The Corvan fleet had 40 warships, including their newest battlecruisers. Any normal human force would be completely destroyed trying to fight such overwhelming numbers. But the Defiance was not a normal ship, and Jake was not willing to let innocent people die. Admiral Vextar contacted the Defiance with a final warning. He knew about the attack on New Geneva, and told Jake that responding would be seen as an act of war against the entire galaxy. If the Defiance left to fight the Corvans, the Hegemony Alliance would assume humans were choosing conquest over peace. Vextar gave Jake one last chance to surrender his ship and prevent galactic war. Jake stood up from his command chair and looked around the bridge at his crew. He saw the faces of men and women who had sworn to protect humanity no matter what the cost. They were waiting for his decision, and he could see in their eyes that they already knew what he would choose. He could not abandon millions of innocent people to save himself from political consequences. He ordered Chief Engineer Ryan Blake to push the quantum core to maximum power. Blake warned him that the energy readings were already dangerously high, and using the weapons again might cause permanent damage to the ship. Jake accepted the risk because saving human lives was more important than protecting technology. He gave the order to break away from the alien fleet and race toward New Geneva. The Defiance accelerated faster than any ship its size should have been able to move. The quantum engines bent space around the vessel, allowing it to travel at incredible speeds. Behind them, the alien observers sent frantic messages to their governments reporting that the humans had chosen war over peace. The galaxy began mobilizing for the largest conflict in recorded history. During the 6-hour journey, Jake received constant updates about the battle at New Geneva. The Corvan fleet was taking its time destroying the colony settlements one by one. They wanted to cause maximum terror and suffering to prove that humans could not protect their own people. Security Chief Danny Foster reported that the Corvan commander was broadcasting threats to other human colonies, promising that they would all face the same fate. Dr. Helen Price studied the quantum core readings during the flight and discovered something alarming. The technology was continuing to evolve at an accelerated pace. Each time they used the weapons, the core learned new ways to manipulate fundamental forces. Price warned that the ship might soon become too powerful for the crew to safely operate. The quantum field was beginning to affect the minds of people who worked near it. When the Defiance arrived at New Geneva, Jake saw a scene of terrible destruction. The beautiful planet that had been home to millions of people was covered in smoke and fire. Corvan warships orbited above the surface, firing their weapons at civilian targets. Emergency broadcasts from the planet reported that entire cities had been wiped out in minutes. The death toll was climbing toward 1 million people. Jake gave the order to attack without any attempt at negotiation. The Corvans had chosen to murder innocent civilians, and they deserved no mercy. Grant locked onto the closest enemy ship and fired the quantum cannons at full power. The beam tore through space and struck the Corvan battlecruiser in the center. The alien ship simply vanished from existence, leaving no trace that it had ever been there. The Corvan fleet immediately turned to face the Defiance, but they were not prepared for what they encountered. The human ship moved through their formation like a force of nature. Each shot from the quantum weapons erased an enemy vessel from reality. Corvan shields and armor that had protected them in countless battles were useless against technology that operated beyond normal physics. Weapons Officer Tim Rodriguez and Navigation Officer Laura Hill worked together to minimize damage to the planet below. They targeted enemy ships that were furthest from the surface first. But even their careful aim could not prevent massive explosions when 40 warships were destroyed in less than 20 minutes. The debris falling toward New Geneva created meteor showers that lit up the sky. The battle ended with complete victory for humanity, but the cost was enormous. Chief Medical Officer Dr. Patricia Young reported that several crew members had been affected by quantum radiation during the fight. The prolonged exposure to the quantum field was causing strange changes in their brain chemistry. Blake confirmed that the ship's core was now operating at power levels that defied measurement. More critically, the demonstration of power at New Geneva was broadcast across the galaxy by Corvin communication networks. Every species could see footage of human weapons that made enemy ships disappear completely. The images were more terrifying than anything shown during the asteroid test. The Defiance had not just defeated the Corvin fleet but had erased them from existence as if they had never been born. Jake received reports that the galactic response was immediate and overwhelming. The Etherian Republic formally declared humans a threat to universal peace. The ancient Kepler Collective emerged from centuries of isolation to join calls for human containment. Even species that had never left their home systems were contributing resources to stop what they saw as an existential threat to all life. Intelligence. Officer Sam Davis intercepted alien communications reporting that over 200 species had pledged ships to a new alliance. Former enemies were setting aside ancient grudges to unite against humanity. The fleet being assembled would be larger than anything in galactic history. Jake realized that his decision to save New Geneva had triggered exactly what Admiral Vextar had warned him would happen. As the Defiance left the ruined planet, Jake knew there was no turning back. He had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. His ship had become a weapon too powerful for the galaxy to tolerate, and his species had become enemies of everyone else in known space. The price of saving 8 million human lives might be war against the entire universe. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the Defiance looking at the largest fleet ever assembled in galactic history. 250 alien warships waited in formation near the galactic core. Ships from every major species floated together in an alliance that should have been impossible. Ancient enemies stood side by side, united by their fear of human power. Jake knew that his ship had created this moment when he chose to save New Geneva, instead of surrendering to galactic demands. The alien fleet stretched across space for hundreds of kilometers. Etherian cruisers flew next to Corvin battleships. Mantis collective vessels shared formation with hegemony dreadnoughts. Even the mysterious Void Dancers had sent ships from the dark regions beyond mapped space. Every species that had ever looked at the stars was represented in the force gathered to stop humanity. Dr. Helen Price called Jake to the science lab with urgent news that made his blood run cold. The quantum core was no longer under human control. During the battle at New Geneva, something fundamental had changed inside the ship. The technology was now evolving on its own without any input from the crew. Price showed him readings that proved the core was pulling energy from dimensions that humans could not even detect. Chief Engineer Ryan Blake confirmed Price's worst fears. The quantum field was spreading throughout the ship, affecting every system. The weapons were becoming more powerful every hour. The engines could now move faster than light itself. Even the life support systems were being enhanced by quantum energy in ways that no one understood. Blake admitted that he could no longer predict what the ship might do next. Jake called his senior officers to the conference room for what might be their final meeting. Commander Lisa Grant sat across from him looking exhausted from days of stress. Security Chief Danny Foster stood near the door watching for any signs of mutiny among the crew. Communications Officer Amy Torres monitored alien broadcasts that grew more hostile every hour. Everyone knew they were facing an impossible situation. Grant reported that the Alien Alliance had appointed Admiral Vextar as Supreme Commander. He was demanding complete surrender of the Defiance and all quantum technology. The aliens wanted every human scientist who had worked on the project to be handed over for interrogation. Earth would be placed under galactic supervision to prevent development of similar weapons in the future. Grant said that accepting these terms would mean the end of human independence. Foster had different concerns about the crew of the Defiance. Several members were showing signs of quantum exposure, including enhanced reflexes and strange new abilities. Some could now see electromagnetic fields with their naked eyes. Others seemed to know things they had never learned. Foster worried that the quantum field was changing humans in ways that might be permanent. Torres received a personal message from President Alex Carter on Earth. The human government was fracturing under the pressure of galactic threats. Vice President John Parker was demanding that Earth declare war on all alien species. Secretary of Defense Maria Lopez wanted to negotiate a peaceful surrender. Carter was asking Jake to find a third option that could save humanity from destruction or slavery. Jake walked to the observation deck alone to think about his impossible choices. He could fight the alien alliance and probably win, but the cost would be enormous. The quantum weapons could destroy the entire fleet, but using that much power might damage space itself permanently. He could surrender and save the galaxy from war, but condemn humanity to live under alien control forever. As he stood looking at the stars, Jake realized that Dr. Price had discovered something else about the quantum technology. She found him on the observation deck with tears in her eyes. Price told him that the ship was becoming dangerous to more than just enemy fleets. The quantum field was growing stronger and would soon be impossible to contain. If the process continued, the Defiance might eventually threaten the structure of reality throughout the galaxy. Blake joined them with readings that confirmed Price's fears. The quantum core was now generating more energy than some stars. The field effects were spreading beyond the ship and beginning to affect nearby space. Blake calculated that within a year, the quantum technology could become a threat to every living thing in the galaxy. The ship designed to protect humanity had become a danger to all existence. Jake made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He contacted Admiral Vextar directly and proposed a solution that no one had considered. Humanity would accept exile from the galactic community. The Defiance would leave known space forever, taking the dangerous quantum technology to the empty regions beyond the galactic rim. Humans would give up their place among the stars to protect both themselves and everyone else. Vextar was suspicious of the proposal at first. He demanded guarantees that humans would never return with their dangerous weapons. Jake offered to take the Defiance to the cosmic void between galaxies, where it could never threaten anyone. The ship would become humanity's guardian and prison, ensuring that the quantum technology remained isolated forever. The debate among alien leaders lasted for hours, while Jake waited for their decision. Some species wanted to destroy the Defiance completely, rather than risk it returning someday. Others worried that attacking the ship might trigger the quantum weapons and damage reality itself. Finally, Vextar agreed to the exile proposal, but with strict conditions that would be monitored by long-range sensors. Before the agreement could be finalized, a faction of the alien fleet, led by Commander Zulok of the Bloodclaw Empire, broke formation and attacked. They refused to accept any solution that left humans alive with their dangerous technology. 12 alien ships opened fire on the Defiance, forcing Jake to defend his crew and ship. The quantum weapons activated automatically in response to the attack. The battle that followed was unlike anything ever seen in the galaxy. The Defiance fought with power that seemed to bend the laws of physics. Enemy ships did not just explode when hit by quantum beams, but were erased from existence, along with the space they had occupied. The remaining alien fleet watched in horror as their most advanced weapons proved completely useless against human technology. When the shooting stopped, Jake found himself looking at empty space where 12 alien warships had been moments before. The quantum weapons had not just destroyed the attacking ships, but had consumed the matter and energy they contained. Admiral Vextar sent a message accepting the exile proposal immediately. He had seen enough to know that fighting the Defiance was impossible. Jake set course for the edge of the galaxy with mixed feelings of victory and loss. Humanity had won the ultimate prize of survival, but at the cost of everything they had hoped to achieve among the stars. The Defiance would spend eternity patrolling the cosmic void, protecting the galaxy from its own power while keeping humanity isolated from all other life. As the ship entered the dark space between galaxies, Jake looked back at the Milky Way one final time. His species had become too powerful to be trusted and too dangerous to be destroyed. They had achieved perfect security through overwhelming strength, but paid the price of eternal loneliness. The ultimate human warship had proven too powerful to be fair, and humanity would live forever with the consequences of that terrible success.